listening to episode 69 of the Comm Cafe, the importance of being known for something specific. And my guest today, Jim Padilla, he is known for something specific. His company, it's all about outsourced sales. So, what better topic to talk to Jim about than, you guessed it, sales. Now, grab a pen and paper. You're going to want to know and write down the 3 keys, as well as he shared a number of other things like new level, new devil, the importance of who are you being. That's right. Who are you being, not what are you doing. All right, sit back and enjoy my conversation with Jim Padilla.
And right off the top, since you work with different levels of salespeople, you're teaching them. So what was your first year of sales? Like, you must have been a natural salesperson, right? What was your first year of sales? What's that story?
Yeah, boy, that's always an interesting one. I started out the gates making a whopping 2 figures. You know, I was just happy to get people to say yes to anything, even if it was free, because I was such a great natural born salesperson. It's definitely one of the cool things, and I'll dive into a little bit of, where we are now so you get some context. But it's always amazing to me when people see what we're able to do now, and they just assume we've been doing that since we were born. And sales is such a natural, it's a learned skill. It's all about being able to take your natural instincts and abilities and be able to put them into play. But then, if you can speak, if you can engage, actually, I even take that back. I've had people who can sell without speaking the language. So you don't even need to be able to speak the same language as the people you're talking to. You just need to be able to care about other people and engage them, and you can sell. And that's the most awesome part about it. But Jim Padilla, along with my wife, Cindy, we own a company called Gain the Edge, and we are we've been blessed with a multi-million-dollar company. We've helped anchor sales campaigns, launches, and live events to the tune of over $100 million in sales for our clients, who are all primarily 7- and 8-figure earners in the coaching and consulting world. And we spend our time teaching people how to master the art of the sales conversation by influencing the environment around them. And to disarm people. It's about making people feel comfortable and safe enough to want to buy from you. And really, this skill set came to me as a gift of the rarest kind, because I grew up in an abusive environment. And so, when my mom was 16, my dad was 17, my mom responded to a very unfortunate circumstance with primarily fear and rage and anger. And so I got beat with everything that was within reach. And so, as you can imagine, growing up as a kid in that environment, you start trying to spend all my time figuring out, how do I make sure my mom feels safe and doesn't want to hurt me? Because I thought that's why I thought she was hurting me because I was doing wrong. Didn't realize it was her own challenges. But soon I was in foster care at 13, pretty much on the streets at 16, in jail at 19. And so you can imagine that first 20 plus years of my life, spending every waking minute learning how to master my environment so that I could influence people to feel safe enough to trust me and want to be around me. And who knew that when you fast forward 20 years, now we make millions teaching other people how to do exactly that, how to master sales conversations by helping other people feel safe enough around you to trust you and want to buy from you. And so it's not about formulas and processes and blueprints and 10-step systems. They work and they're important. They're great to have, but it's all about who you're being. We teach that it's not what you're saying, but who you're being while you're saying it. That matters. And, I get a lot of pushback from that, even from our own clients many times, because they all teach systems and blueprints and 10-step processes. And my whole thing is, you've been selling since the day you were breathing. As soon as you started breathing, you sold your mom on feeding you or not sleeping. You sold your siblings on why you should be able to ride shotgun or get the top bunk, right? You sell people on going to see the next great movie that you just saw or eat at the restaurant. You did it all without a funnel and without a script. It's because you engaged them at a human level and you cared about something for them. right? So we just teach how to really unpack that in a natural way so that you understand how you've been doing it so you can start doing it on purpose instead of just by random chance.
I love that. And my card is almost full of points already. So I forgot to remind the listener that they better grab a pen. So, hey, if you didn't grab a pen already, go grab a pen right now. I'll pause for like 2 seconds. Go grab that pen and paper because I wrote down a number of things. I'll just give a quick recap. There's a couple, it's not just buzzwords, but there's some words that I'm going to just share them again in case people, and then this is where I want to go. So we talked about engaging. So we didn't talk about we didn't talk about ClickFunnels, we didn't talk about landing pages, we didn't talk about any of that stuff. We used the word engaging, safe to buy, influencing people, and how you are being. Jim, you didn't say, what are you doing? We are human beings, as they say. We are human beings, we're not human doings. We have systems and structures for after to make sure people don't fall, like we don't lose track of people, so we can keep them delivering what we've sold them. Here's my hard-hitting question for you. So you talked about how people are safe to buy and influencing people, but the other word I wrote down was kind of went over it really quick was jail.
Yes.
So what's that as a challenge to say, man, you just talk about, wow, you can make people feel safe to buy from you. And how do you leverage that?
It's interesting because I think everybody knows who Tony Robbins is. And one of the things that he says that I resonate with wholeheartedly, because I believe I've been doing it most of my life instinctively, not really understanding what he was saying until 30 years later, 40 years later. But he says you should always be building two businesses. Successful entrepreneurs, you're building the business that you're working in the business that you're in, and you're working in the business you're becoming. You have to have both of those in mind at all times. And in my growing up environment, I literally spent every waking moment trying to master where I was because I needed to be safe in the moment. And I was always watching everything in the landscape so that I could see, okay, where am I going? Right. And so that, whether it's, just trying not to get beat or survive in a foster care environment on the streets by people trying to manipulate you, take advantage. And I was running in, with bad people dealing and doing drugs. And in jail is the same thing. You got to survive the day. And how, what do I need to become? Who do I need to become to be the person that's going to not be back here again? And I'm constantly thinking about both. And so, and of course, doing that same thing in the business, you have to be present. It doesn't do me any good to think about what I'm going to do an hour from now, a month from now, or a year from now when I'm here talking to you. I need to be purely talking to you. And by you, I mean both you, Dwayne, and you who are listening. I'm talking to you. This isn't just some broadcast. This is a conversation. And I'm trying to think of how can I best serve you, right? And I put intention and thought into that. So before I even got on this call, when Dwayne and I spoke, a couple of weeks ago, we knew who the audience was. I know you're working with female entrepreneurs. You're really trying to focus on helping them, get their minds, their body, their whole being right around finances, cash flow, and profitability. And there's a number of ways to make that happen, and everything's important. So how do I provide value in that place, right? By helping women who, it's very ironic that the woman that drove me into a certain place in my youth taught me the biggest, most valuable lesson that I learned, and that is I don't hate her. I learned how to value women more than anything. I respect women. She was coming from fear. And, not that all women are coming from fear, but women come from a place of wanting and needing protection. Biological design is for need for safety and protection. Not that they need to be sheltered, but with safety, they can thrive. My wife is my queen, and she is incredible. She's a badass at life and at business. But it's because also a big part of that is because I stepped up as the man and provided a safety environment for her so that she could take risks. She didn't have to be the leader of the home. She has the freedom to go explore her own virtue and value and dominance in the world, because she's not having to worry about, what am I going to do to her, or what am I going to say, or am I jealous of her success, or any of that, right? We're in this together. And our whole team, we have 120 people on our team, like 6 guys in our whole company, all women. I got 3 daughters. I've been coaching girls' high school basketball and golf. Somehow God spin this into something that I now provide massive value and support to women. Even though as I first came into this life, it was all about being, essentially beaten down by women, which was crazy. But I learned so much about the vulnerability and the rawness that a woman can be. And so instead of fearing it or hating it, I just learned to love it and nurture it.
It's a big piece. It's a big piece. I know the work that we're doing around for the biggest the rungs of ascension. It's don't judge. No judgment. Yes. If we didn't even get off that step, the next one is forgiveness. Like, wow, it doesn't necessarily get, as you climb the ladder, it doesn't get any easier. But the first step, if I'm getting away from judgment and then forgiveness, and really just going back and saying, you have to go back to remember the lessons we learned, but then we look forward to say, well, how can I, not repeat it? And then how do I be of service? And I know that's so, and then again, you look at what skills you have, and then okay, these are the skills I have. These are the things that I'm really good at. And then how can I be of service? So let's get into we talked about engaging. I love the piece about safe to buy. I think let's talk a little bit more about that one, because I think lots of times people are actually ready to buy from us, and maybe we forget to just shut up, stop talking and just and listen. But what's a couple of the pieces to expand on this whole piece around safe to buy? Just make it a safe environment. Is it just comfortable? What's the piece around safe to buy?
That's very interesting, because safety and comfort are not synonymous, right? Safety is actually more about understanding that you can get hurt, but it won't stop you. It won't kill you, right? You learn by failing fastly. One of the gifts I got by being abused so much is I learned that nothing can break me. I can take a lot and keep moving, right? Which served me powerfully as an entrepreneur, because there's nothing that's going to kill me. There's nothing going to kill my business. It's just going to, it's a mistake. You learn from it, you fix, and you move on. And so by doing so, you begin to feel safer by taking more risk, because you understand, this is just part of the gig. Whereas most people tend to hide inside the box because they feel like safety is in there because that's what's familiar. So what we try to do is get people to make familiar what is not normal. Right? Taking risk, making a mistake, having somebody tell you no, having somebody tell you, fuck no, hell no, whatever you need to embrace there, you got to be able to take, because it's all about understanding that when I show up on a call, I am literally here 100% for the person I'm serving. So it doesn't matter how they respond to me, because it's not about me. It's irrelevant. Anything they say to me is their fears, their misperceptions. They're starting to respond to something that's going on inside of them, not something that's going on inside of me. So then my job is to be observant and say, now that's an interesting response. Let's talk about that. Where did that come from? Rather than, why are you yelling at me? Or why do because people get defensive in a sales conversation sometimes, and they can get triggered. And then when we're defensive and worried about if they like us, or if we're being pushy or anything, then anything they say to us immediately puts us into a defensive mode. Now we're both off the rails, and this conversation is useless, but we're still trying to pretend that we're both getting somewhere. And so it doesn't work unless you absolutely show up for the other person. And one of the key factors in that is being truthful in the process, no matter what you see, calling it like you see it. If I see you being nervous, if I see you double talking, if I see you say this cannot go on any longer because you need to solve this problem, but then you say, well, maybe I'll wait till next year to solve it. Well, those are two incongruent statements. Your job is to call it out. I have to say, hey, you're talking out both sides of your mouth right now. And which is more important to you? Is this something you absolutely have to change? Or is this no big deal to you? And so now you can wait till next year. But let's get to the truth. Have person to make a clear conversation, a clear decision, and then move forward. I don't care what your decision is. I want your decision to be made from the best possible outcome. And the only way that can happen is if you're at your best possible state. We all make better decisions when we're at the highest version of ourselves. We're usually not at the highest version of ourselves unless we feel safe enough and confident enough to get there. So my job is to help inspire you to your best self in this moment so that you can make a great decision now.
That's really good. That's really nice. Now I'm going to backpedal a little bit because it happened to me like a week or two ago. I was doing this challenge, connect with 100 people, ask them if they want to come on a call, send out a bunch of people. It was really cool. I sent out to a bunch of people who I've known for 3-4 years, and someone came back and said no. I'm like, ouch. Like the guy who was running the program is like, listen, they're going to say no. Just go to the next. Some will, some won't. So what next?
Yep. It's
really easy to say so what next, but when you get when the guy got that first no, I'm like, oh, the ego. Like it was like, oh, I don't have ego. And then the first goes, what do you mean you don't want to? What do you mean you're too busy? We've been friends for like 4 years. I just need like 20 minutes of your time. He's like, no, I don't have time for a social call. I'm like, and then you try and then you go back, you're trying to, oh, it's not a social call. And it's like, no, you're just supposed to say next.
Correct.
The second one was easier. That first one though, that first one hurt. How do you get, I guess it's just getting it, right? Just get the first no.
I'll tell you what, the more you grow, you're going to keep reaching that just at different levels. That's not something I experience because I've done this thousands of times. I've coached thousands of people. Our company, our sales team runs 25,000 sales conversations a year. So those aren't the kind of problems that I have, but we have stuff that, no matter what you do, like I say, new level, new devil, there's always going to be something else that you're afraid of or have to respond to. And so we experience that as well. The main thing is understanding that state you just described is always present. It's a moving target. So it's not like, oh, I've solved that. I no longer care what people think about me. Nonsense. We all do. We just learn how to negotiate it differently. So that can, let's say something happens and your mother, you have a sibling who passes or something dangerous, something bad happens. Well, all of your energy is now focused on that person, the person that you love. You feel raw and vulnerable. The person you counted on your whole life is no longer going to be there or something. You don't think that's going to affect how you show up in a sales conversation? All of a sudden, you need nurturing, you need fulfillment, you need to be receiving love. Well, you're going to try to get it from your client. So you're going to need to feel like, oh, they have to like me. And all of a sudden, now you're doing things that you never would do. You're not going to stand in your strength. You're not going to stand in your power. You're not going to be there for them because you're way more concerned about them liking you. So this is a constant and never-ending game you're going to play. The key is you need to have a strong skill set of understanding. What is my goal in this conversation? What is my objective, the object of my outcome here? What is it that I want for this person? What is it I want for them? So basically it's understanding that you need to have a mechanism that can pull you into awareness. And sometimes that awareness might be, and this is for both sides, both the sender and the receiver. Are you at your best place? Is there something going on in your life and in your world right now that is keeping you from being at your best? Because if you're not at your best, you're not going to help them get to their best. Maybe you need to reschedule the call. Maybe you need to let somebody know that. Maybe you need to deal with that open and honestly. And being aware enough, because if you're so focused on your script and what you need to say next and what you need to do next, you might miss the fact that the person you're talking to is in that state. They're not responding the right way. They're not showing, they're inconsistent, they're soft, they're moving around emotionally. And you're not picking up on the fact that they're actually dealing with something that maybe today is the best thing for you to be a salesperson. Maybe today's not the day for you to help them make this business decision. Maybe for the next 20 minutes, you just need to listen to them and let them cry on your shoulder. I don't know, but you have to be aware of what's happening. And I promise you, those things will move your sales conversations and your potential to win clients drastically. That will move the needle so far you can't even measure it. Because when people know that you're there for them first and foremost, they will let down their guard and start to trust you. And now you can have real dialogue. Then you no longer are the sales professional trying to move them somewhere. You're just a trusted advisor. You're an ally. You're a friend. You're now moving to the park bench conversation. And when, that's the approach we teach. It's just a park bench approach to the sales. And you should be able to sit down on a park bench with a random stranger inside of 30 minutes, and you should know what they want, why they want it, what's in the way, what's the cost of them not getting it, and how motivated are they to solve the problem. That's got nothing to do with scripts. It's got nothing to do with funnels. It's got everything to do with being a human being who cares about the person in front of you.
That's fantastic. Now, I wrote down some more stuff. I really like the piece about the prep. So again, this is why people like block times on their calendar to say, okay, what is your ideal time, or depending on who you're calling. From a prep point of view, I love the piece about setting the intention. Maybe just two things that someone needs to do before they pick up the phone to start making those sales calls for the day.
Yeah, I have something we call a 3 keys process around this. And this used to actually be the system that I taught as my sales training. But the first key is understanding clearly, this is how you have a potential client. The client must know and understand the problem that they have. Okay, and everything here is a two-way street. They must know it. You must understand what that problem is, so you know how to articulate it. Okay, now this sounds silly and elementary, but everybody does not know the problem that they have, right? I went to get a massage a few weeks ago, and I was like, yeah, I got this shoulder, my knot in my shoulder is right. It's been bugging me. It's just been pulsing. Turns me over on my back, and she starts working on my chest. She's like, this is what, and I said, no, it's back here. She's like, I understand, but everything's connected here. What you're describing, I have seen way too many times as a result of what's happening here. We're going to loosen this up, break it up, and then it's going to free this up on the back, and we'll be able to release it. So I didn't even know what my real problem was, much less could I articulate it, right? So we have to take that same approach to everything. Most people don't really know what their problem is. They just know what they're feeling, what they're experiencing. So that's the first step. Second is they need to understand the consequence of not solving the problem. That's not about beating them up. That's about providing clarity. And so our job is to help them get clear, like that masseuse did with me, that therapist. She educated me. And then I had a decision to make. I could have said, well, that's too bad. I just want you to fix this because that's my immediate pain. Deal with it, right? But it's okay. You're the pro. You understand this. I'm going to follow your lead. But she gave me clarity. Right? She said, if it doesn't work, come back. We'll take care of it. I promise you we'll fix it. But this will work. Right? So you have to know the consequence, and they have to know it. Now, here's where it comes into play. You have to understand it supremely. And the thing I love about like your niche, you can always refine it more. Nobody can ever, there's massive refinement that can always take place. But the more you know about your niche market, the better you're going to be able to articulate their pain points, right? If you can describe somebody's pain better than they can, then you automatically get credit for knowing how to solve it. And so when people can hear, when you say something and they're like, oh my God, that's exactly what I was thinking yesterday. Or have you been reading my diary, or whatever, because you're in their mind, because you understand your ideal client supremely. And you're the expert, so you've worked with hundreds or thousands of people in that scenario. So there's no refuting it, okay? Now, so that's key number 1, and then key number 2. 3 is they need to understand that you are the ideal expert to solve the problem. And why? Why are you the most ideal person to solve this problem for them? And then it's up to them to make choice. It's like we're not here to manipulate them into a choice. We're there to help them get crystal clear on what the paths are. Right? So it's it's not manipulation. It's not pushing. It's not any of that stuff. If you're telling them, if you go down path B, you need to remember this is how much you've lost in the last year. Or this is how much it's cost you, or you just got through saying you're about ready to lose your marriage, you're trying to prove to your wife or your husband every day why this matters so much, or that hang on, trust me, because I'm going to finally fix it soon, right? So you have to remind them of that, because when it comes to decision time, their squirrel brain is going to try to pull them away from that. They're going to try to make up excuses for why this can wait. And your job is to show them as a mirror, right? Be a mirror. We all know what a mirror looks like. On our great days, we love it, and most other days we don't, right? Because it tells us the truth. The mirror does not fudge anything out. When you look in the mirror, it's going to say, hey, your hair's messed up. You got something in your teeth and your fly is down. It's not going to tell you what to do about it, but it's going to tell you the truth of what it is. And then it's your job to decide what to do about it. It's going to say, clearly, if you walk out that door, you're going to look kind of stupid right now, but you're free to move about the cabin if you want to, right? And you need to be in that same place with a complete objective mindset. Complete objective. Your job is not to be like, oh, I need you to fix this. You'd be like, look, I don't know why you would want to walk out that door with all that stuff in your teeth and you lie down. But if you're going to, you need to understand that when you do, people are going to look at you and they're going to laugh. They're going to think they're going to lose respect for you. They're going to see or they're just going to think you're just the goofy drunk uncle. I don't know, but you got to make sure you know what's there. Whereas if you go down, path B, you solve it this way, right? And this is how you're going to be received because this is how it's going to show up and be presented. So your job is to do that for people. And that doesn't apply to just a business conversation. That's when you're dealing with your teenager, when you're dealing with your spouse, when you're trying to get your team to buy into an idea or a concept. Your job is to provide them clarity, make sure they understand what the problem is, what's the consequence of not solving it, and the fact that you are clearly motivated to solve that specific problem, right? And then they buy in or they don't.
It's really good. I wrote those down. So if someone didn't write them down, hey, check the show notes. They'll be in the show notes. You got to figure out before you pick up the phone to call someone, you got to figure out what's the shingle, like what's the sign on the door say that you are. It doesn't say generalist. It says you can't just say healer because there's lots of healers, or you can't just say, hey, I'm a coach.
Correct. Here's my whole approach to that. The first thing that people need to understand, you guys, again, write this down. If you're not known for something specific, you're not known for anything. And in order to be an expert, you need to be known for something specific. And let me give you a simple example just so you can understand how this folds. We are known in our company as the go-to solution for outsourced sales teams, for experts and consultants. That's literally the only thing we're known for. When I walk into a room, I can walk into a mastermind, I can walk in a place and they go, oh, hey, that's Jim Padilla. They're the outsourced sales guys. If you need a sales team, you hire them. But what happens is this amazing magical thing happens where because we're known for having highly executable results-based sales teams, people assume we know how to build teams and they hire us for that. People assume we must have a great training process, so we must know how to train sales teams, and we get hired for sales trainings at corporate engagements as well as teaching entrepreneurs. People assume that we can help them hire and train managers, right? All kinds of things come as a result of knowing what our expertise is. If we tried marketing the fact that, hey, we work with sales teams and we train people and we help you scale your business, and we're not known for anything. Now it's just a vanilla flat statement. But because we're known in that one space, right? Drill in on the bullseye and everybody on the surrounding circles, right? We've all seen a target. You got the 100 in the middle, the 25s on the outside. And when you drill in on the bullseye, everybody on the outside listens in. The problem is when you drill in on the outside, your bullseye target is not interested and you'll never attract them. So you need to always speak to the bullseye and then let everybody else lean in on the conversation because they want to be the bullseye person.
That's awesome. I love that. I'm going to use that for myself. Hey, because
feel free.
I'm having guests on because it's like, if you don't have your guests on, ask questions that are relevant, because it's relevant to me. It's because pieces, like even for my business, as a financial advisor, I got into doing tactical things, and then now we're back to say cash flow. So what, I want to be known for the guy that helps people with cash flow. The other piece is like, if you want to have a podcast and learn about podcasting, that's after the fact to say, okay, cash flow, we can increase your cash flow by getting you more leads. And that's a marketing thing. That would be the podcast guy. There's too many good podcast guys out there. I won't even name them all. There's so many good ones out there. Like, why would I want to compete with that? But they're not the cash flow person. So it's, again, just but it takes time. So I guess that'd be one of my last questions, I guess, is time, patience. Everyone wants, because again, we're watching Facebook and we see other people, we see our competitors, we see our friends, and see people, getting maybe what we assume or view as success faster than us.
Yes.
How do we, and everyone's looking for that, I just need that magic bullet. Jim must have the magic bullet. If I take Jim's program, I'm going to go from like 3 figures to 6 figures really fast.
Yeah, dangerous place to be. And here's one of the greatest advantages that we are able to bring to the marketplace right now. We have had the benefit of seeing the behind the scenes of some of the top influencers in the game, because we're connected to what they do. And I can tell you that there's a lot of people that just aren't doing it. They're projecting one image, and on the back end, they're struggling just as much. And you have no idea how many times they failed before you saw the win. We work with clients that are doing, multi-million-dollar launches. And that's all people see. They go, I want to do launches like Jeff Walker and Justin Livingston and Ryan Levesque, Frank Kern, but they don't see that, before Frank Kern did $1 million launch in a day, he did a dozen or 100 launches that only made, $5,000, $10,000, because it just didn't work. Because they tried and failed and guessed. And you have no way of knowing what people are guessing at, what people are actually sharing with you, under what conditions and what scenarios did the results happen that they shared with you. And that's only typically top line. Nobody talks about bottom line revenue, right? They say, I did $1 million launch, but after they paid out all their JV affiliate fees and promotions and commissions, they're walking away with $100,000. Now you might say, hey, that's great. Not if you just made $1 million and walked away with $100,000. That's not great. Right? So there's so many things. You need to just learn how to ask questions and see what you can take, what makes sense and what resonates. Don't look for all the great, hot, crazy new ideas. I think you should find the expert you resonate with most first. That's priority 1. Do I like this person? Do I believe in what they're doing? Do they feel credible and authentic to me? Great. Now let me dive into their message. And one of the things that we actually tell our clients when they come on board with us is, for the next 6 months, if you're in a 6-month program or 12, you need to unsubscribe from everybody else's list, because I don't want you confusing the message and trying to say, oh, this webinar said this and that. Stop it, because they're all good and they're all bad and they all work under certain circumstances. You can't mix and match them. You need to be crystal clear of the methodology and the strategy you're implementing and run with it and master it, knock it out of the park, then figure out what the next one is that you want to add in.
That is challenge number 1.
That's huge, especially in today's age.
You just need to bring someone in and just do that for you. Just go and hit install Unroll Me. There's an app. I'm not sure are you familiar with Unroll Me?
Yeah.
Just sign up for Unroll Me, and they'll go out and find all of your email subscriptions. You haven't read anything lately, so just unsubscribe from them all and start fresh. Why not? I know this is kind of a standard question, but I think it's relevant for you. So my listener is new to becoming a coach. They're in that space. What's that sales book unless you have, and I'm not sure, maybe it's yours, but what's that sales book, which is just that, oh, look, it's How to Win Friends and Influence People. It's on his desk.
Yes.
I have a 25th anniversary one on my shelf. Because we think about, it's got to be the sales book, or it's got to be the latest, the latest piece. And it's go back to whatever's been on the New York Times bestseller list for the last 30 years. And there's a reason why it's still there.
Yeah, there's two books that and it's interesting because I had a colleague who just sent me this book 2 days ago, and I've been diving in. This is literally my favorite book, How to Win Friends and Influence People. The only book that I have purchased for myself multiple times, because it's a book that I usually have. I take it in my bag when I go to places. I've given it out probably 7 or 8 times, and then I have to go buy another one for me because I'll talk to somebody. I'm like, dude, you need this book now, and because it's that important. And so, How to Win Friends and Influence People. This updated version is for people in the digital age. So it talks about how to win friends and influence people online, et cetera. So it's got a little bit of twist, but tried and true. Nothing in there would I change, no matter how old the book is. And then the other, this is a big one. And, I just got to dive into this, guys. The book is called Zen Golf. Zen Golf. And I've been reading and prescribing this book for almost 20 years. I've been my daughter, who is now 26, supposed to be 27 soon, when she was in high school, and she used to play high school golf and basketball at a very high level, and she was phenomenal talent. But sometimes her head would just kind of lose, like her head wouldn't be there sometimes. And so I got this book for golf because I was coaching the golf team at the time. And it's all about the battle of the mind. It's really got nothing to do with golf. So I now prescribe it to sales training clients. I prescribe it to anybody I know, because it's all about how do you actually capture the essence of the moment you are trying to step into before you step into it. And yeah, there's a few golf terminology and lessons. You can throw that away. It's irrelevant. This is one of the greatest mind over matter subject books that I've ever read. And I tell it to everybody. Zen Golf and How to Influence People. You can never go wrong.
It's awesome. No, I love it. I'm glad I pat myself on the back. I'm glad I asked that question, because you gave me I wrote down Zen Golf. I actually have a passion for golf. So I'm guessing that if I read Zen Golf, it's going to be stuff like that, where it's what's your mindset, and let's not worry about comparing ourselves to the guys.
The real concept in it to me is we are literally creating our own reality, and you just get to choose at what level is it. Like I have totally bought into the mindset that I can work just as hard to get a $10,000 client as I can to get a $100,000 client. So why not work to get $100,000 clients? Same work, same way different outcome, right? And when you're doing that, you also pick up the $10,000 clients because you have something to offer them, right? But it's just really understanding that. And the only thing, I'll wrap it up with this on that piece. My daughter, as I mentioned, who was she played college basketball, and from the time she was in 7th grade, she was a phenomenal physical athlete. So almost every day she was better than the person she was matching up against physically. And so she was usually the fastest player on the team. So whenever we would run lines or do drills, she would run as fast as she needed to come in front of everybody else, but she didn't run as fast as she could. And she did that over and over. And I used to say, hey, are you working as hard as you can or as hard as you have to? And she would say, okay, Dad, I'm working, I get it. I said that to her probably 100 times through high school. One day, sophomore year, she's in college up in Oregon, and she calls me. She says, I get it. I said, get what? I get it. She's like, we just had the most insane practice today, and the team was not doing what they need to do. And I was going all out as hard as I had to. And I just raised the level of everybody else around me because they were trying to catch me. She's like, I get it. Go as hard as you can instead of as hard as necessary to win the moment. Right. So it took her 7 years to figure out and apply it. But if you can just grab that mindset, win the moment. What do you need to do to win this moment? And what's the best possible outcome you can provide in this moment? Don't just try to do enough to be as good or just better than the other guy. Be your absolute best in every moment, and it is totally possible.
All right. I'm going to wrap it up on that one. That is amazing. I wrote it down. Can or have to.
Yes.
All right, Jim. Let's drop a website link. I'll put it in the show notes as well. How can someone find you guys on Facebook, website, social media? Where do they?
Yeah, I just shared it with you here on the links for the show notes. But we have a drop-in coaching membership group, and it's a $47 a month simplicity. Bottom line, if you can't get ROI off of $47 a month, you probably need to shut your doors, go out of business. Either that or I'm no good at what I do. You come in, you can ask questions. Me or my team will answer them. We drop videos in there. We essentially try to run it like we're your sales manager. So hey, where are your numbers this week? What are you doing? And it's a $1 first month free trial. So jump in for $1, check us out for a month, see if you'll like it, stick around. I promise you'll get more ROI than you can even possibly imagine. Hell, one sale of what you're doing probably pays for you for the year. So more than worth it. But check it out for $1, and it's a GT Now. influence lab, influence-lab. And again, the link will be in the show notes. But come and check us out. And please don't be a fly on the wall. In the group, check us, ask questions, introduce yourself. We can't help you if we don't know you're there. So don't just look around and see what we're doing. You can control the action. If you ask questions, we'll answer them. And let me tell you what, this is a great time to get into it right now because we just started this group a few weeks ago. There's only a couple hundred people in it right now. So you can get a lot of attention because, a few months from now, by this time next year, there'll be several thousand. But right now, it's you get the time, you get the attention to show up and take advantage.
Take advantage for sure. All right. Thank you again so much, Jim. It's been a pleasure. I filled up a whole cue card of points for myself. I hope you, the listener, did as well. If you think someone could benefit from what we talked about today, don't forget you can share this. Sharing is caring. And just let someone else know that these are some great tips on here about this. Let me repeat a couple of them. Engaging, safe to buy. There is a difference between safety and comfort. Building two businesses at the same time. New level, new devil.
Amen to that.
I like that one. All about prep. There were the three keys. I'm not going to repeat them. Go back and listen to them. And be known for something specific. And Jim, you guys are known specifically as the #1 outsourced sales group. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yes.
And come and check us out. We're launching the Sales Unscripted podcast. And so that's coming out right now. So just check it out and we'll guarantee to wow you with some content, some great interviews from industry leaders and all kinds of fun stuff. So love to join to keep the conversation going there.
All right. Thanks again, Jim. And thank you, the listener, for stopping by today.